We may have different cultures or you know, different economical backgrounds or, you know, etc., etc. When you forego all of that and you're just dealing with human brains, then it's not going to matter who you're going to confront, okay? So, human brain. There's three components. Left, right, and the primitive. All right? Three components. The left brain is the analytical side, and this is where the frontal cortex is, where, you know, when we're a little child, we are grilled and learned and driven to develop that left brain side. You know, breaking things into pieces, mathematical structures, right? Compositions of sentences and so forth. All right, everything is broken down into pieces. Make sense? All right. So think about the left brain. The people who are great at using left brain is professors, teachers, right? Those kind of people. Engineers, architects. A lot of left brain oriented. All right. What is the right brain? The right brain is think of it as it takes the whole concept into totality, you know? Meaning, the left brain will break it down into pieces, but the right brain will take it into whole concept. So keep it in a concept of it understands emotions, feelings, you know, it's where the creative side comes from, okay? It sees pastels, you know, colors-wise. And what is the right brain? Writers, artists, you know, singers, you know, musicians. A lot of right brain is used. Okay, that's where that functions at. Now here's another component that is the most primitive brain, and that's what we call it, the primitive brain or the lizard brain. That's inside the middle, you know, around here. It's the amygdala. That is a brain that only knows two functions. One is fight, and the other is flight. That's it. Every animal has that. That's why we call it also the lizard brain, because it's that primitive. Okay? We human beings have that as well. And so when we come into a position, we're gonna, in that primitive brain, there's only two things. We're gonna either fight, or we're gonna fly. We're gonna take off. All right? And then I'm gonna share with you how, because we are human and we have this so-called society, we have transposed that, and how we deal with fight and flight is through objections, what you were asking earlier. Okay? So, now how does the process go? Sales, whenever you close anybody, they have to be on the right brain. If they are not, it is impossible to close them, period. I do not care, you know, you cannot get them in the right brain, there is no sales, period. Okay? Now how do you get them there? What is the process? The process is, from the left brain, you bring it down to the primitive brain, and from the primitive brain, you want to elevate it to the right brain. Now what causes that? First, question. Have you guys ever presented and you did such a great job in informing the individual, you start sharing them great information, and the better you did, in the end, they're like, you know what, that was really interesting. Can I have some more information? You guys ever run into that? Here's the thing, guys. The better you are at presenting information, the harder it is that it will be to sell, close. Did you hear that? The better that you provide information in an analytical way, the harder it is to sell. Because what did we say earlier? Where do they have to be that they can sign or you can close them? Where? Right brain. Okay? Information, breaking down systematic information. Where does the brain lie? Correct. Alright? You get that? So you obviously you're not going to close them there. So what happens? As you give some information, you bring them down to the primitive brain. The second part, you have to take them to the primitive brain. What is the primitive brain? How do you do that? It happens with a loss. Like losing something. Potential of losing something. Alright? That's what happened. It's like a deer, you know, you're driving down, deer gets in front of the headlight, they pause there for a second and then they jet out. But that's what happened. They're standing there and they're like going, okay, I could lose my life, so I better flight. Alright, that's what happens. And humans go through the same thing as well. Alright? So from a loss, like a deer losing his life or her life, same thing. For instance, our presentation of the PeopleDeals. You know, you present to them, blah, 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 blah. And what could be some of our loss? Well, our normal price, you know, it would be an annual fee of $948 a year, right? $199 setup. Right? However, you know, for a short period of time, we have a limited package at $599. So you kind of throw, you never want to say you're going to lose out on something or you're going to lose this. You never say that. If you do that, you'll drive them so far into their primitive brain that they'll never come out. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? So how you want to do it is innuendos. Here is the potential of making $100,000 with our program. See, they're already thinking, if I don't do it, they have the potential of losing. Does that make sense? Right? It's $599 right now. If they don't do it, they have a potential of losing that deal and it's going to go up. Does that make sense? Okay? And when you put them in a position of a loss, they're driven in the primitive brain, and this is where many people go wrong. They try to talk to them with logic. Could you talk to a dog or any kind of animal and try to explain to it why, you know, this product works or this service works? Could you reason with an animal? Yes or no? Join in, I don't want nobody falling asleep. Exactly. But this is what people do all the time. When an individual is in the primitive brain, they are not logical. They are no longer human beings. Understand that? So do not treat to them. And this is not to, you know, like belittle anybody. I'm just strictly talking about process. When one goes into a primitive brain, you cannot speak to them as human beings no longer. You must speak to them as if they are illogical and they need somebody to hold their hands and then walk them through. Because when they're there, a couple things happen. They are in the area of fear. What is the fear that they have? They have the fear of the unknown. Okay? And what you're trying to do is, hey, you're trying to help somebody from less to more. Right? So you want to try to get somebody to help them to get more. But they're afraid of the unknown. So you have to take them and hold their hands. How do you do that? There's a process in that as well. Obviously, you can't go, oh, it's okay, you know, we'll walk you through. You can't do that to adults, right? So we use languages, certain types of languages. And one of the things is, now from the primitive brain, we want to elevate it to the right brain. And how do we do this? We do that through affirmation. Okay? Affirmation. What is affirmation? Anybody have children there? When Johnny does something wrong, and he's crying, or well, let's say, you know, he got in a fight. Okay, I'm sure we all have situations, something like that. Or the kid got injured, coming in running. You know, if we go, oh my God, what happened to you? Oh, they, you know, a lot of times they happen to go hysterical. What we need to do is say, oh, what happened? You know, and like, oh, okay, maybe I understand. I understand how you feel. You know, you're giving them comfort. That's affirmation, acknowledgement. If you do not give the individual an acknowledgement, you've just killed yourself. You're going to have to start all over again. Okay? And I keep on saying this, starting all over again, because there's a process. There's a process that took you time and effort to get them from the left brain to the primitive brain, and then now you're getting them to elevate to the right brain. If you screw it up once they're in the right brain, you got to start all over again from the left to the primitive to the right again.
Can you give like
is through first affirmation, which is acknowledgement. Okay? How do you say it? Like for instance, objection. All right? You had your objection. Well, it was like one of his clients was saying, "How do we know this company is not going to go out?" Right? Right there, I already know they had them in the primitive range, so you got them good. That's good. Okay? So at that point, there's two types of objections. It's credibility or like benefits. Okay? So right here is a credibility concern. So there's 3 words that you're going to use. Remember these 3 words. Write it down. Uncertain, concern, angry about something that happened in the past. That's it. Every objection will fall into that. And you start with, I understand. Okay? I understand your concern. Or I understand that you're uncertain, or I understand that you're angry about something that happened in the past. Make sense? Any kind of example. So his would be, I understand, it could be concern or uncertain. Right? But I would go with, I understand you are uncertain. However, now you figure out, was it credibility or benefits? It was credibility. However, see now by acknowledging it, you help them to open up their mind to receive what you're going to say next. Without that acknowledgement, you'll never get to them. Okay? Then you go, I understand how you feel, or I understand you're uncertain. However, then you bring out credibility. You know, our company is just not a fly-by-night. We've been around since 1998, came up with the first patent email system. We went into the stock market in 2006. We started developing from there. And as we evolved, just like any other company evolving and growing, this is our new concept that's patented us out. So as far as us leaving, we've been around since 98. So does that make sense? Right there, now you just, the process gave him, I understand how you feel. You're like, okay. You just kind of calm them down. However is the next connecting word that you must use. It is extremely important. Write that down. However, you cannot use but, and, therefore, etc. No, none of those regular conjunction words. Remember conjunction? What's your function? Anyway. Nobody got that? But anyway, why? Okay? If you use and, but, those are stoppers. Okay? It stops the track. It's not a continuum. So when you use that, it shoots them back to the left brain. Does that make sense? It's back to informational stage. And that's not where it's going to go. All right, you guys start all over again. But when you say, I understand, however, it is flowing through to the whole concept of understanding, which still keeps them in the right brain. Does that make sense? Okay? So, always use the word however in practice, guys. Don't use but, and.